Good evening, good evening, good evening. I am here. I am here. Are you? Come on in, come on in. I'm here. I'm here. Good evening. I'm here. Are you? I am here. Are you? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Phoenix Free Press tonight. It's Saturday, the 27th of January 2024. Yes, it's the 2nd of January. It's the 27th of January 2024. Welcome to Phoenix Free Press. Good evening, everyone. I trust you had a really productive week. You're about to step into your weekend. The weekend has started, and then we're about to get into a whole new week again. So I say good evening to you. Welcome to Phoenix Free Press, our independent platform right here. It's your girl, Nikki Phoenix. I'm in the house. Are you here? Let me know that you're here. Drop your comments. Let me know what is your drink of choice for tonight. Tonight, we're going to have a very elevated conversation, okay? The comment section is open. I look forward to your comments, to your feedback. I look forward to us having a very engaging discussion. I want your comments. I want you to engage others on the platform. It's so important because we're speaking about a very important topic tonight. So I'm just going to give you a minute or two. Drop your comments. Let me know what your drink of choices for tonight is. Also, remember to share the live. I'm not sure if my notifications are working. I placed the flyer on my page earlier today, and then it was not showing up, and then I had to delete it and paste it again, post it again. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So please do us all a wonderful favor and share the live. And make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yes, I launched a YouTube channel. I didn't even say anything, but I did. Yeah, I need some help with proper marketing, eh? Mm. But good evening, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have our guests joining us at 8:30 tonight. But I want to give you the lay of the land. I want to lay the groundwork for tonight's discussion. I want us to be in it. I don't see your comments coming through as yet. I don't know what you're drinking. I don't know if you're having water. I don't know if you're having a glass of wine. I don't know if you're having some tea. I don't know if you're just, working your saliva. I don't know. So drop your comments. Let me know what you're doing. Let me see you in the comment section, and share the live. Thank you very much. All right. Giving you 5, 4, just giving you a few seconds to get into the house tonight, get into the platform, get seated, get comfortable because you're about to be schooled. Okay. We are about to be schooled together because each one teach one. So tonight's topic, the power of the press, the ABS and China Media Group agreement, democracy, and the press freedom in Antigua and Barbuda. That's our topic for tonight. So, hello everyone again. Good evening and welcome to Phoenix Free Press. This show right here, where tonight we're going to be discussing the power of the press and the challenges it faces around the world. So, we're not just going to be doing Antigua and Barbuda. As a journalist, I have my guest who's coming on. She's a journalist. I have many journalists, colleagues around the world, Antigua, Guyana, Jamaica. I have quite a few. Here in the UK, I'm now, meeting a few and, getting my little tentacles in there, as you would say. But press freedom and the fight for a free press is vital across the world. So it's not just Antigua and Barbuda. So tonight's topic is not just Antigua and Barbuda. I'm not going to show you content just from Antigua and Barbuda. We're going to be having a holistic topic because the press is a very important topic. Free press is an important conversation. It's an important fight. It's a right, the people's right, and we are entitled to it. So knowledge is power for sure. So our guest tonight, I'm your host, of course, Nikki Phoenix, the one and the only. But our guest tonight is Alicia George. She's a journalist and she's also the founder of Island Press Box, Antigua and Barbuda. I'm very pleased to have Alicia on the platform tonight. I'm looking forward to her contributions. I'm looking forward to your contributions tonight for us to really have a really good discussion, you know? So tonight we're going to talk about this controversial agreement. We have to say it's a controversial agreement because one, we do not know what are the fine print. What's the fine print? What are the fine details between this agreement? Now, if you're not in Antigua and Barbuda or within the diaspora to understand the leading up to this particular topic for tonight, Antigua and Barbuda, the state media, ABS Television, and China Media Group, CMG, signed 10 MOUs. Later down in the evening, I might mention them or find a way for you to get that information if you didn't. But on the Office of the Prime Minister page, it's there. ABS, as in the state media's page, it's also there. You can see all the MOUs on those pages. I might not mention all of them tonight, but the agreement between ABS, Antigua and Barbuda's state media, and China Media Group. And China Media Group is a state controlled broadcasting group that it's the main channel of the Chinese government. The agreement was announced a couple of days ago, and I think at presently our Prime Minister, uh, Mr. Brian Stuart Young from Global Bank of Commerce, the chairman for Solid Waste, and the new ABLP candidate Michael Joseph, the chief of staff, government's chief of staff Lionel Max Hurst, um, Minister of Health Malwin Joseph, Sir Malwin Joseph, and Garfield Burford, from journalist and media presenter at ABS, Garfield Burford. All these individuals of the names that I've called, they're presently in China, maybe on their way back to Antigua, but they spent about a week in China, you know, going around to Beijing and various parts of China, meeting Prime Minister Gaston Brown, met with the president of China, Xi Jinping. I watched ABS News where Garfield Burford presented a few updates and, you know, everything that's happening. So be sure to watch ABS. Be sure to watch the state media. You have to watch the state media. Like you have to, you know, you have to watch all media. So if you're just joining again tonight, it's Press Freedom, and we're going to talk about media in general. But I'm just giving a little backstory on what is leading us to have this particular conversation tonight on the agreement or the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, between CMG and ABS, the state media. It sounds like a good deal, but we do not know the fine print of the details. But tonight we're going to be speaking about a few things that we'll highlight. We'll highlight and make some comparisons between media in Antigua, and we'll make some comparisons between with the media in China and media around the world to enhance our discussion tonight. So, first of all, what kind of content will China Media Group provide to ABS? These are just some questions that we're going to put, you know, on the table for tonight's discussion. Will it be objective and balanced, or will it be biased and misleading? Questions we're putting on the table. Will it reflect the interests and values of the people of Antigua and Barbuda, or will it serve the agenda and ideology of the Chinese Communist Party? Questions. Will it cover the issues that matter to the local audience, or will it ignore or censor the people of Antigua and Barbuda? Questions. Secondly, what kind of influence will CMG have over ABS? Now, will it respect the editorial independence and the autonomy of ABS, or will it interfere and dictate what ABS can or cannot broadcast? Will it enhance the professional standards and skills of the ABS staff and the building? Because we know ABS is like in 1974. I'm just saying. Mr. Enemy, I know you do a good job. I know you do the best you can, but yeah. So, will this collaboration enhance the professional standards and skills of the ABS staff, or will it indoctrinate and manipulate them? Questions again for tonight's platform. Will it improve the quality and diversity of ABS programming, or will it degrade and, you know, change the narrative or change the culture to some extent? Question again. Thirdly, what kind of impact will this agreement have on the media landscape and the public opinion in Antigua and Barbuda? Which I think is the biggest question. It's a very big question because Antigua is a democratic state. Uh, China is a one-party state. Antigua freedom of speech is recognized and to some extent respected and should be respected, and we are fighting to maintain that. It's a big fight, trust me. It's a fight. And in China, it's just, yeah, it's in China. So, what kind of impact will this agreement have on the media landscape and the public opinion in Antigua and Barbuda? Will it increase the access and choice of information and entertainment for our viewers, or will it reduce it and distort it? Will it foster a culture of critical thinking, which is quite vital, and civic engagement, or will it promote a culture of conformity and apathy? Will it promote a culture of conformity and apathy? Will it strengthen the role of the media as a watchdog that is necessary, like vital, and a platform for dialogue? Or will it weaken it and turn it into a mouthpiece and a tool for propaganda? Questions again. And if you're just joining again, these are the questions that's leading up to tonight's discussion. There are some of these are some of the questions that we need to ask and answer before we embrace this agreement. It's already been signed, but the public need to know. And the media, of course, is looking forward to a copy of the agreements to have an idea what's happening. We need to be aware of the potential benefits and the risk of this agreement. And we need to demand transparency and accountability from both ABS and CMG. But we need to demand it from ABS. We need to demand it from the Prime Minister Gaston Brown of Antigua and Barbuda, because Antigua and Barbuda is a democratic state. Okay? It is. So we want to see the agreement. We want to see the benefits. We want to see the risk. We want transparency and accountability. And this is what this government pledges, I guess is the word. Pledges. So let's use the word pledges. So we need to protect and defend our right to free and independent media, which is essential for our democracy and our development. We need to remember that the power of the press belongs to us, belongs to you, the people, and not to any foreign or domestic entity that wants to control or influence it. So that's why we're here tonight, to shed some light on this agreement, to shed some light, not only on the agreement, because we don't have the agreement, to shed some light on the importance of maintaining free speech and taking a stand for free and independent media in Antigua and Barbuda. When we get the agreement, we'll have part 2 and 3, and we'll invite the parties and have that discussion. So I invite you to join the discussion tonight. I invite you to share your opinion, your questions. I want you to participate. I want you to be on our Facebook page. I want you to leave your comments. I'd love for you to, go to our YouTube page. Go to the YouTube page, Lady Nikki Phoenix for YouTube. Leave your comments there to watch the video, share the video. Let's get the message out. Quite important. So I need to give the house rules for tonight. I should check the comments. Now I'm going to check the comments. Guys, I didn't check the comments because Topaz transparency. These are the things that we need, guys. We're not going to say what we're not having and what we're not getting. We're going to lay the law of the land. We're going to lay the groundwork on what the expectations are, and that's what we're rolling with, right? Because we need to raise the level of the conversation, and we're just going to be a different platform where we just come with the facts and help them out, give them some information to go with, give them some education. All right, so the house rules tonight's guys, sorry, house rules. All comments are welcome, so no need to insult or disrespect anyone. Not necessary. It's just not necessary. Just get your point across, yeah? And even if you don't, just cool. Have your beverage of choice. This is the house rules. You know, when you come to somebody's home, they say, "Could you please take off your shoes at the door? Could you take off your shoes at the door, please? Thank you." So you take off your shoes at the door. Yeah. So these are the house rules. So have your beverage of choice. Why? Because this platform have rules. We have rules here. So just follow them. No need to ask any questions. The other house rule is you need to leave at least one comment. Your engagement is what matters. And can I say, I just love reading your comments. And I think that sometimes I go over the live videos and the video is on mute and I'm just scrolling through the comments. So I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to make this my house rule. You have to leave at least one comment. Your engagement matters, and sharing this video at least once, that's the least you can do for good information and education. Yeah. So share it. And finally, well, there's no finally. The program just got started. So I don't have a finally. I don't have a finally. I don't. All right. So I want to give an icebreaker before I start. I'm going to give an icebreaker. You guys want an icebreaker? Even if you don't want it, I want it. I planned it in the program and you're going to have it. All right? You don't have a choice. You do, but then you don't. All right, here's the icebreaker, guys. Hold on, it's coming. What's going on?
Policy fiance. Hello? Put it live, man. Is this Serpent? It is. This is Senator Colin O'Neill. I'm organizing, if I can get an organized interview with you, is that okay? By the way, you're live, right? Sorry? You're live. Okay. So I'm going to call you to get a meeting to organize with you so that we can have an interview. Concerning? I mean, in the constituency. Sorry? The constituency and your representation. Okay. As the representative. Are you bingo on that one? I don't do bingo. I'm an Adventist. You're Adventist? Oh, yes, it's true. All right. No problem. But are you in a position, by the way, you're live, right? So you're saying in a position publicly that you're doing an interview with us, right? No, I never said that. Okay, well, I'm asking, is it possible to get an interview from you? Anything is possible, my brother. There's nothing off the table. All right, wonderful. At least you do better than Pringle, because he told me to work for you. Yeah, well, you can't be talking to me and this is a political leader at the same time. All right, okay. Yeah, defend if you want to defend. I'm not defending. I'm just telling you where I stand. Okay, we'll talk. I'll make sure that we engage you. So whenever I call, maybe we could do this next week. Yeah, like I just said, there's nothing off the table. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Representative Serpent. Thank you. We can't be representative and serpent at the same time. Honorable Alison and what? What? All right. Step up. All right, me hear you. All right. We'll talk. When we get into the interview, we'll talk about that. Just identify yourself as Senator Colin. Yes. And you're quite right. But we'll talk because we're running out of time. But then, so give me the honor that's due to me. All right. Honorable Algernon Serpent what? There you go. But Matilda Serpent. No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm going to interview you sometime next week. After all, I am your representative. Yes, so whenever we talk, we'll bring all that up. Doctor, you can be honest enough to admit that you voted for me. When? You did. When? Not try that. Stop pretending. Do not try that. I know you're going to try a low blow. Don't try that. How could I ever do that? You're chatting nonsense. But you all love to come and tell lies. So here you are lying again. I can tell you, I could never vote for the UPP again. You not even come with that boy. Listen, I'll talk to you next week.
Welcome to Observer AM. News and current affairs.
Is that funny or not? Is it? Or isn't it? Was it funny? It was. It was funny because you know what? That person, Colin O'Neill, thought he was being very cocky. He was being very cocky. You heard Lamin in the background. Lamin said, "Putty pan speaker, man. Putty pan speaker." You don't play with Serpent. You just don't. You just don't. So thank you for that vote, Colin. Let the word get around. Thank you for the vote because Colin, we knew that you didn't really like Dean Jonas. You didn't like Dean Jonas. So of course we're so grateful that Colin O'Neill did not give Dean his vote, and he voted for Serpent. You did, and you heard the smile in his voice. You can hear when people are smiling and talking. Because he said, "You lie, you lie." He did vote for him. He did. He said, you lie, you see? You lie." And then he said, and he's so nervous. He's just so intimidated by Serpent. He said, "By the way, you're live, right? By the way, you're live, right?" All right. Guys, that was the icebreaker. So I give you a little icebreaker, but we're talking about freedom of the press and free press. You see that right there? Could that happen if there is no free press? Like, could it be circulated? Could it be discussed? Could we be like having a laugh, having a giggle about this scenario here with Colin being caught with his pants down? Yeah. Oh no, he's being caught with ink on his finger next to the serpent. Yes. I wonder if the prime minister is going to handle that. But it's true. But he was always a UPP. He's blue to the bone, isn't he? Anyway, but as I was saying, so that's one scenario. There's the other scenario where there was a protest and Pearl Quinn Williams had a placard, and that placard basically offended the prime minister. The prime minister claimed that it's defamation of character. The prime minister even placed an injunction that Pearl is not even able to like talk about it, or we're not anybody's about to share it, they're going to be sued. Okay, but where does this take us? Because I was gonna read some stuff from that letter, but I'll leave that. Where does that take us if the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression is actually being challenged, or it's already being targeted, and then we find ourselves in company of like-minded individuals of that type of authoritative leadership. Where does that leave us? Will we allow free press to be completely eliminated? Like, are we going to allow ourselves to get to a place where we're not able to challenge the government? What is the government of Antigua and Barbuda, the government within the Caribbean, the government in the world, any leadership? Are we going to get to a place where we're unable to challenge any leadership? And not only that, in the sense of challenging, but being fearful for our lives. Because I'm going to show you some videos. I'm looking at the time here too, just to look at my guest. I needed to send her the link and I didn't. One second, guys. Yes. So are we going to get to a place where we're even afraid to speak, like some countries, where not people, journalists, where I have a video I'll share, are losing their lives for stories, for reporting on nefarious activities by those who have um, deep pockets, as you would say, that they can use the system to frustrate, intimidate, and to um, create fear mongering, create you're unable to process and to do work, and to just you're just unable to speak, to muzzle you. You'll do something called, what's it I heard in the video, self muzzling, if there's such a thing. Are we going to get to that place? Are we aiming for that place? you know so a couple of things I want to show you tonight with this MOU that was signed, Antigua and Barbuda and China Media Group. The MOU aims to promote exchange and cooperation in the field of media and broadcasting, and to facilitate the sharing of information and resources. The MOU is part of the border strategic alignment between Antigua and Barbuda and China, which was reaffirmed by Prime Minister Gaston Brown and President Xi Jinping during the opening of Antigua and Barbuda's new embassy in Beijing. If you missed that, there are pictures of that on Prime Minister Gaston Brown's page, and I think also the Office of the Prime Minister for Antigua and Barbuda page, and China, Antigua Barbuda, China Embassy, I think, is the page to find this information too. And just do your research. Don't just take everything at my word for it. Do some research, please. The MOU is an agreement to strengthen development and cooperation in the field of media. A couple of things to note: sharing news and information resources, programs, and technologies, which is very important and very vital, especially for ABS. We see how ABS look 1974. Somebody said no more, no more. So they're going to get a little upgrade. They're going to level up. Enhancing professional training and exchanges for media personnel. Again, that's another leveling up, not only with technology, with the experience. I mean, with Terry Andrew. Terry Andrew went to China, and Terry Andrew came back from China and explained or expressed such an exceptional experience that he had. The training, he was there for about 4 months. It was really good and really positive for him. Such opportunities will open to other individuals on the ABS and this partnership between CMG and ABS. Yeah. Enhancing professional training and exchanges for media personnel. I think I mentioned that. Promoting cultural understanding and friendship between the two countries. That was mentioned. Supporting the Belt and Road Initiative and the Global Development Initiative. Now, the Belt and the Road Initiative is a vast, vast, vast stuff that I started to look into, and I still need to look more into, but I do have some more information and content there too. But tonight we're going to focus on the MOU between China Media Group and Antigua Barbuda. We're going to focus on press and the freedom of the press and the importance of it. And we're going to have some takeaway points from tonight's discussion. And we're also going to have, we're going to basically discuss the what's that word? Misconceptions. We're going to talk about misconceptions about China, misconceptions with regards to this agreement and what it can do and what it cannot do. But I also definitely want us to speak about freedom of the press itself. You might not have seen these videos, but I want to show you. I want to introduce you to. I was going to play this clip from France de Freitas yesterday, if anybody had a chance to catch it, when France was basically expressing his concern about this MOU and what we should be doing or paying attention to. But I also want to play you this clip with Prime Minister Gaston Brown having the visit at CMG, which I think is a more important one. Sorry, France, no disrespect, but this one is the one we're going to play. And we kind of get an idea how you feel about this. Hold on. All right, let's add it. And I see our guest is in studio, so we're going to get speaking to her too. So it's a good time adding this video just in time. Check this out, guys. You might have to do some reading yourself, yeah?
And we look forward to more of that. Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much.
All right. I think I want you to watch it again. You might not have seen a few of the individuals there. There was Ambassador Lionel Max Hurst. There was the chairman of Solid Waste there. There was the Minister of Health, Sir Malvin Joseph there. There was Garfield Burford from ABS there. Look at the video. Look at just take everything in. Take in the landscape of what the media entity CMG China Media Group looks like. Just take a look. So you see Burford here. I'll show him again. Lionel, Ambassador Lionel Max Hurst at the back there. Prime Minister Gaston Brown. Burford, Sir Malwyn, Ambassador Hurst, Prime Minister Gaston Brown. EP Chet Green is there, Honorable Chet Green, Michael Joseph there. This is the old photo from a previous cohort that went to China, and this is Terry Andrew here from that when that picture was taken.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. This is the streets of China here, you know. You see all that is the lights, you know. That's the street. It goes all the way into the horizon. So you can take Antigua, 100,000 people, and just fit us in there. How many times, there. Key things I'm highlighting here. But it's beautiful view, isn't it? It's amazing. It's beautiful. All right, guys. Give you a little bit of that. I'll give you some more. I've laid the groundwork, some groundwork. Our guest is here tonight. I want to invite her to the platform. Elisha George is the founder of Island Press Box, and she's also the JCI Media Trailblazer. Sorry, love. JCI Media Trailblazer for 2023. Okay. Elisha George is well renowned. She's a well esteemed journalist. I am very privileged to have her as a colleague that I can, have her on WhatsApp, call her on the phone, ask for information, share information. She knows her stuff and understanding press and press freedom, being the founder of Island Press Box, having her own experiences as a journalist. I thought it best to invite her to the platform tonight so we can have a balanced discussion about press, democracy, press freedom, and what this MOU agreement could potentially have for Antigua and Barbuda, and of course, CMG also. Let me remove that. Elisha, good evening, my darling.
Hi, Nikki. I was so concerned with listening to what you were saying before. I forgot to look for my pin on mic because I didn't want there to be any static. So if you
Oh,
saw
sorry,
me just frantic there, that's what I was doing. I was looking for the mic, which I didn't find. So
it's cool. I can hear you fine. Can you hear us fine? Can you hear
I
me
can.
fine? Okay, good, good. You look lovely. I'm loving the hair. I'm just loving the look. Very
Thank you.
nice.
I am actually trying to prove some people wrong. People who call themselves my friends and do not believe that I'm gonna keep my hair this way. They're like, you change your hair every 10 days, but I'm holding strong. So thank you.
I'm going to support you and I'll check in 10 days to see what happens. So, congratulations, JCI Trailblazer, Media Trailblazer for 2023. Tell us a little bit about that. You experienced that. How has it been? And we'll go from there.
All right. So pretty much there was a nomination process. So someone would have to nominate you, someone who felt that you fit the criteria of the various categories they had, because that was just one of the categories. And I believe this year there was some mention of environmental work or something to do with climate change. And so I kind of fit in there very
Mm-hmm.
snugly
Because of the
because
Yida,
after
because of the Yida. Yeah.
not just either after investigative journalism, I love environmental journalism.
Nice.
At one point, the site is down now because I'm really focusing on Island Press Box. At one point, I had a website just strictly dedicated to environmental news across the OECS and in Antigua and Barbuda. And so sometimes when you're always on the go and you feel like you're not accomplishing enough, and
Mm-hmm.
then you get the opportunity to write down all the things that you've accomplished. And at one point I was like, yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired. That's a very long list, but I
Mm-hmm.
had to write part of that information in order to give it to the person to submit it, because the person needs to know very intricate details about the work that you do and stuff like that. And so I had, while I down, I had the fact that I was the only journalist in the OECS to go on this U.S. Embassy investigative tour of Latin America. So there was a lot of firsts for me on that list. And I don't know, they didn't mention, how many people were nominated for that category or what set me apart. All I got was an email saying, congratulations. Congratulations. So I hope that it will serve as an inspiration to young people, especially,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't hear a lot of young people wanting to be journalists, because I think they probably think that it's limited to writing and reading,
Mm-hmm.
and not so much more. So I hope that me winning this award and them seeing actively what it is that I'm doing in media will inspire some young people to become journalists.
Certainly. You mentioned the US Embassy tour of Latin America. I saw that, but I didn't get details. So, I want details.
Right, that was in 2022. Again, I was minding my business, doing my work, and then I just saw an email pop up really from the US Embassy. At first, I thought it was spam, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm very suspicious of everything. Because I'm like, I didn't have anything to do with the US Embassy. Where did this come from? So there was an email sent, and they said, we have chosen you to be the representative in the Eastern Caribbean. I'm paraphrasing here, of course,
Mhm.
for this tour that we're doing. And pretty much they would have done their own research into what it is that I've done, some of the things that I've done. And they said, do you accept? I said, yes, of course I accept. Of course I accept. And at the time, I didn't know what all the details was. I didn't know that there was traveling involved. I didn't know who I would meet and where I would go. But I figured, hey, it's an opportunity. And somebody took the time to research what it is you were doing. And
Mhm.
that just goes to show, when you think nobody's watching, people are watching. So it
Mhm.
was a 6-week program, went to Panama. It started in Panama. So we spent about 3 to 4 days in each location. We went to Panama, Mexico, and Ecuador, and it was a lot of information. At one point, I think some of us had to tune out because
Mhm.
it was sensory overload, but it was great because you got to experience firsthand how a facility like APUA works, for example. We got a lot of mentoring, and we had to wake up very, very early. Like our days would start like 7 o'clock in the morning, and then at 7 p.m. And they always want to do socials. So then there's socials after. But it
Mhm.
was a great experience. Panama is great. I absolutely love it. I made a lot of friends. I made a lot of colleagues there that I can reach out to at any time. Because the
Mhm.
great thing about these exchanges is that you always keep in touch with each other.
Yes. Mhm. I'm very proud of you. Your work, everything that you just do your stuff. You know your stuff. How do you
I try.
feel? How do you feel when you heard? What were your first initial feeling as a journalist, knowing the work and the challenge it is to get information in Antigua and Barbuda and to be able to execute your job as a journalist? What were your first initial thoughts when you heard or you saw the news regarding the MOU between China Media Group and ABS? That's one question. And also you can lead into, did you do any research? Did you, just
Okay.
take a sip of
So,
what's your drink of choice for tonight?
water, Nikki, water.
Take a sip. Take a sip. I'm not saying anything. I just said what's your drink of choice?
So initially, I think I saw it between sleep and wake for the first time yesterday, last night. Um, because I've been on the go for the past 2 weeks. Sometimes I barely get a chance to look through the things that I normally look through. But I saw it, I was like, oh. And then I saw some of the comments under it as well and the concerns that people had. One of the headlines I read by an agency that I don't like to call a news agency, I would call them a reproduction agency. Pretty
Say
much
Antigua
had a very,
Newsroom. Say
and I
Antigua
call nobody name.
Newsroom. I
You're
could
not
say
making nobody sue me,
a black
Nikki.
ink, a black me. I could say it. They always regurgitating people news.
But
Go
but but
ahead.
that's what it is though. If you notice, there's no original news, and they've changed the name to All News Report. Pretty
Yes.
much, they're taking the work from everybody else and they're mass producing it. What I don't like about that is half the time you don't get credit for the work that you do, and the fact that all the sponsors are on their platform,
I was
but
about
it's
to say
your work.
that. They get all the advertising. They get
Yeah,
Sanders, they get the Indian curry people, they
the
get
KFC,
everybody. And they don't know
everybody. So imagine you working hard, and I like to use this narrative or analogy. Imagine you hours covering a protest in the hot sun, and you go and you write this story just to see somebody just take it and put it on their website, and they're
Yep.
getting more views than you, they're getting more shares than you, and they're getting all
Yeah.
the advertising. But at the end of the day, it's your work, and you get
Yeah.
nothing for it. Anywho's, I saw the story of a very unflattering photo of Unami again. Again.
Why do they
I
always
think
use that?
honestly there might be a vendetta
It's so
against Unami.
disrespectful to her. No, but it's
And that's
disrespectful
just
to
an
her.
assumption based on the photos. So a very unflattering photo, and I don't remember the exact headline, but that wasn't flattering as well because I believe it started by saying communist China is going to partner with ABS, something to that effect.
Mm,
And I raised an eyebrow because immediately what you're doing is putting a negative thought out there
yes.
without explaining anything. And we don't know the details of this deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We saw that the government said that they signed, I believe it was between MOUs and agreements, really, 10 of them so far in China, and that was just one of them. So we don't know the details. And I'm not a person to want to put any negativity or any negative connotation on something without knowing any details.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to that word communist, whether or not the outside world sees China as communist or China practices communism, Antigua and Barbuda is a sovereign state. All right. We have our own constitution, we have our own government, we vote for them, and so on. And so I don't expect that ABS will all of a sudden become a communist state. Some people might argue and say, well, already all we're seeing really is government news. They are operating like GIS,
Mm-hmm.
and that may be true, but I think communism is stretching it. Again, I don't know the details. I think it's something to be excited for, but I know a lot of people have their reservations for a number of reasons, like we should. And you asked about the research that I would have done. Some of the things, at the top of my head, I would have just kind of put one and two together. But what I did go over was there was a World Bank review report or overview that I went just browsed through of China, and it said that I don't want to lie, it said more than 800 million people in China's economy lifted themselves out of poverty because of the economic strategy that China has. My concern, though, for islands like Antigua and Barbuda and in the Eastern Caribbean is that are we feeling the same impact? Because that 800 million people who've lifted themselves out of poverty, I'm sure some of them live in Antigua and Barbuda and they own restaurants and they own stores, and that money is being repatriated back to China and it's probably not necessarily staying in the economy. So China has its strategy and its economic development policy that is benefiting China, but do the people on the ground in Antigua and Barbuda feel the same impacts?
Mm-hmm.
I always complain that China has all this technology. They're light years ahead of some of us in terms of it. Yet, when you get to the Caribbean, you have one stretch of road and you'll see 7, 8 Chinese, either restaurants or shops, but nothing else. That technology doesn't reach us, and that is my concern.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they not sharing that type of technology to help us develop our students, our financial sector, our health sector, definitely. And so that's my biggest concern. We've heard the
But,
prime, and Nikki, you can stop me
but
at any time, right?
yeah, yeah, because I was about to jump in and said that the Prime Minister and the delegation just signed 10 MOUs, and those MOUs, it's health, it's the West Indies, a collaboration between the University of the West Indies and another
Correct.
university Mississippi. There are
There's
quite a
also a
few there.
trade
There's
and
a Delta.
maritime transport agreement as well.
Yeah, so there's some agreements there for sure. But what I would love to do, because I did some research and I kind of put some facts together, just for us to share, to put on the table, to add to what you're saying, because there are certain. Hold on. I'll talk about the Belt and Road Initiative. I have that there. In a minute, I'll talk about that. I have it on the notes here. But I wanted to get to some points here about misconceptions, because there are some misconceptions for China. So you want me to jump in? I want you to continue with that first, and then you sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not
If you let
supposed
me, I'll talk
I'm not supposed
forever. So
to
go
cut the
ahead.
guest. That's the idea. I'm not supposed to cut the guest. All right. So some of the misconceptions it says here, it says that China's media is controlled by the state. And the fact is, China's media is diverse and dynamic with a variety of outlets and platforms that cater to different audiences and interests. While the state does not have a role in regulating and guiding the media, it does not dictate every aspect of the content and operation. Many media outlets and platforms are privately owned and operated, and some have more autonomy and influence than others. China's media also reflects the diversity and complexity of China's society, culture, and politics, and often engages in debates and discussions on various topics and issues. I found that. Somebody said lies.
I don't think
I found
it's
that. What do you
fair.
think?
I don't think it's fair to say lies because what we've been presented um, of China is really what the US says or what another foreign agency says. Uh, just like I want to give us a simple let's use Barbuda as an example. Okay. If you stay in Antigua and all you hear is the rhetoric of the politicians of who Barbudans are, what it is that they do, what it is that they want, then inevitably you're going to have this view of Barbudans like, oh yeah, they're lazy, they're this, they want, because that's what you're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
When you visit Barbuda, you see something different. You
Yes.
see a people with a different way of life than yours that you have to appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think it's the same when you talk about China, because no matter how much we hear that, oh, China has this motive, every country has a motive. All right. We exist because we want to get things done. And every single country in the world has to partner with someone. In the very earliest, the Caribbean was partnering with the UK and the US.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, they kind of I want to use the proper word. They reduced the funds and the investments that they were making in the Caribbean. And so, as an alternative, we had to find someone else. Whether or
Mm-hmm.
not China would have been the right someone else, it was available and accessible. And as you can see, China continues to make themselves available and accessible. I was reading today in the news that in Antigua is the fourth country that I know of this month to sign to sign a mutual visa
Free.
agreement
Mm-hmm.
with
Free.
China. So which
Yeah.
means Chinese citizens can travel to Antigua visa free and vice versa. Again, we don't have all the details. We don't know if it's a permanent thing. We don't know if it's for 30 days or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
is. But it said that this is in addition to 157 countries that have now engaged China in some sort of either visa free or a unilateral visa policy. So China in itself is making it easier for people to people exchange, which is one of China's developmental strategy. Again, I think a lot of the rhetoric that's coming out and the things that are making us scared and afraid is what we're hearing from international media.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we're hearing from people. People say a lot of things, Nikki. Sometimes they hear people have the stories, and you're like, yeah, this person said this. Ask them where they get it from. They heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my issue will always be whether or not there's an imbalance. You know,
Yeah.
China's economy is expanding due to COVID as well. That was stated as one of the reasons for making it easier for people to people exchange is that after COVID, because we all know what was being said that COVID originated from
Wuhan.
China, and
Yeah.
and we knew that it spread like wildfire. And so their tourism industry and their trade industry would have been hit. And so they're making it easier now for people to go back and forth because they want that economic boost as well. But again, it seems to be one-sided
Mm-hmm.
from the ground.
Yeah, I have a few more misconceptions here. I'll read the feedback. I'll read the feedback. But tonight we're here to put some facts on the table for our guests, for ourselves, and for our discussion. This one says here, China's a misconception. China's media is isolated and disconnected with the world or from the world. It says the fact China's media is connected and engaged with the world, both as a consumer and a producer of global information and culture. China's media users access and share information and content from various sources and platforms, both domestic and foreign, through the internet and social media. China's media outlets and platforms also produce and distribute information and content to the world, both in Chinese and other languages, through various channels and networks. It says China's media also cooperates with exchanges with media for other countries and regions through agreements, partnerships, and joint ventures. Looking for another misconception here to add. Misconception that China's media is homogeneous and conformist, reflecting the official ideology and propaganda. It says, fact, China's media is heterogeneous and creative, reflecting the diversity of opinions and expressions in China's society and culture. While the media does adhere to some basic principles and values that are consistent with the official ideology and policy, it does not simply repeat or echo the official propaganda. The media also explores and experiments with different forms and genres of expression, such as satire, parody, animation, and documentary, to convey various messages and perspectives. The media also responds and adapts to the changing needs and preferences of the media users who are increasingly sophisticated and discerning.
Nikki, what's the source of that document that you're reading? You laugh.
You said that, and somebody said, Nikki, where are you reading this from? With question mark.
No, I want to know the sources because I mean ABS could make the same claims, but we see what we see. So I have to ask the source of the document.
Everybody asking this. Tika asking, Carti asking, you ask.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we see for ourselves. Even if we have, I'm hoping what happens in that exchange with ABS and the media group in China is that maybe we can see this different perspective that they're talking about. Maybe we're missing something. Again, we're not exposed to everything that happens in China. China is a huge place
Yes.
compared to Antigua and Barbuda and even the Caribbean. And so they may be right. And maybe them partnering with ABS is an opportunity for us to see that.
Yeah, and one thing that we can consider, if we keep saying that China is a communist party and they don't support capitalism, I'm here in the UK. When I go to Harrods or to I'm trying to remember one of those big stores, or you even go down Oxford Street where you have all the Lamborghinis and whatever. You're seeing all the Chinese people. Those are their children. Whether they're driving it, whether they're shopping, whether these are not Chinese people or their children that are locked away back in China. No, they're not. So it is an advanced state. It is an advanced country. So we have to, come away from this low level conversation that we would have and really see beyond, because we're not on the inside. We're
Hmm.
looking from the outside. And like you said again, we're just going with the propaganda. We're going with the propaganda of what we're hearing instead of being there and experiencing it. Now, there's always positives or advantages and disadvantages of every single thing that we do.
Right.
Coming together with regards to 100,000 people compared to China and the vastness of China, who would have more benefit is really the question. Who
Hmm.
would have more benefit?
I, I answer by saying this. I think in this case it may be the type of benefit, because the government could successfully argue that since the CIP program started, for example, that majority of the people who've acquired Antigua and Barbuda citizenship are Chinese nationals,
Mm.
right? And that's a one-time investment. However, on the other hand, you have some of these same Chinese nationals setting up shop, uh, inadvertently closing down local shops. And so I think it's all about, again, what we feel on the ground and what we see on the ground. I cannot say with any certainty that Antigua and Barbuda is feeling most of the benefits, because China, in some cases, or not in some cases, I believe is overpopulated. In some cases, China is overpopulated. So by having these cooperation and these agreements and these diplomatic ties with countries like Antigua and Barbuda, they have an opportunity to, send down their residents. So they're benefiting in that way. It's not to say that us ourselves in Antigua and Barbuda and the Caribbean, we don't need the a population increase. We do.
Mm-hmm.
However, when and I don't want to say these people because it can, have a negative connotation.
Yes.
When the Chinese come, I know you say in London you see them mingling. That's not necessarily what happens here.
Mm.
Those you find who are mingling here and who are linking with nationals are those who are born here. The younger generation of Chinese, those who speak better dialect than definitely me. those, those are the ones, and perhaps that is the start of a great thing. But again, is that money circulating? I can't say for certain that, Antigua and Barbuda has the better end of the stick. Some may say, well, the Chinese, they're helping us build things like the airport, or this and that. It's a
Mm-hmm.
loan. They're not Nobody's doing favors. We have to pay back,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Just like
Yes.
if you went to a bank, you have to pay it back, whether it's at a lower interest rate or not. Guess what? If you don't pay it back, it belongs to them. And we've seen a
Exactly.
couple of cases like that in Africa, where they take the people and their money, they couldn't pay them back, and the people didn't come back for the something.
But I have that down. I have that too because according to the Belt and Road Initiative, the same thing happened with regards to Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka ended up owing just last year, I think it was maybe 78 million or $78 billion from the loan that they had gotten.
Hmm.
And they defaulted on the loan, like the first time ever. They defaulted on the loan. Yes, Sri Lanka defaulted on its debt for the first time in the history after failing to pay $78 million of interest on two of its sovereign bonds. The country is facing its worst financial crisis in more than 70 years with a shortage of foreign currency, soaring inflation, and a severe lack of essential goods. So after this happened, the Sri Lanka government is actually now having discussions with the International Monetary Fund to get a bailout so that they can pay back their debt to China and to other creditors. You know, so when we're talking about benefits, let's look at some benefits because there's always benefits, right? In everything there's benefits. In everything there is advantages and disadvantages. So I want to list some of the advantages and disadvantages. And of course, Elisha, you tell me if you agree or you disagree on these advantages and disadvantages. So we're going to do advantages for Antigua and Barbuda for these partnership. So it says the partnership can bring more investment, trade, and development opportunities for Antigua, especially in the field, like you mentioned, Elisha, infrastructure, tourism, the blue economy, etc. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Another advantage is that the partnership can enhance Antigua's capacity and resilience in dealing with natural disasters such as hurricanes by providing aid and assistance from China, which I agree because China assisted when we had Hurricane Irma. They definitely, you remember, and
I
any other
feel like
disaster.
I
Pardon?
feel like in that sense they have a social responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
because China is one of the major polluters anyway, and that's been a discussion on the international media,
Mm-hmm.
as to how much China is willing to provide in funding for climate change. And actually, that's one of the MOUs that they signed for
Okay.
South-South cooperation and climate change. So I agree that that is an advantage, but it's also a responsibility of theirs,
Mm.
because of all the pollution and all the waste that they've generated over
Yes.
decades.
Okay. All right. Advantage: the partnership can foster cultural exchange and mutual understanding between Antigua and China, as well as other countries in the region, through media cooperation and the people to people contacts. Yeah.
I agree, and I think that's well needed because I feel like if you're gonna curse out somebody, I think you should curse out from a place of knowledge. So get to know them first, get to know them first, and then curse them out if you don't like what you see.
Guys, I'm gonna get to the information for the China's Belt and Road Initiative. I have that too. I can share some on that. I really listen, Elisha. I really spent some time to prepare on this topic because this is not a topic where you can just speak flimsily on, and it's a topic that's going to be a discussion for a period of time because we still need to know the intricate details of the agreements and so on. So this morning, I think it's either yesterday, I think it was, or early this morning, I said to my husband, I said, babe, I'm talking about, the topic is this and this and China. He's like, you gonna talk about China? I was like, he's like, you sure you want to be talking about China? And then he dropped all these books on my lap.
Oh gosh.
Chinese and the African perspective on China and Africa. Pirates in the Caribbean. The pocketbook of patriotism.
Wow. So he just had that around the house, Nikki?
No, you have books like books galore. You like books galore. Okay, how far we slaves have come.
Oh my.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's it. For this one preparation for this one show. I didn't even reach halfway. I didn't even reach like. I just. Oh yeah, babe. Sure. Yeah. Read about. So this is real preparation. So let's go to some of the advantages for China.
Mhm.
So the partnership can expand China's influence and presence in the Caribbean region as part of its global Belt and Road Initiative and balance the traditional role and interests of the US in the area. What do you think about that point, Alicia?
I think that is absolutely true because
That's advantage. Yeah?
essentially it's two huge world powers, right? You know, the US, we like to say the US like to be in everybody's business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think what China is trying to do is offset that and offset the narrative that the US and other countries have put, you know, have labeled on it.
Hmm.
And so I think that's definitely one of the advantages for them.
Another advantage for China is that partnership can secure China's access to natural resources and markets in the region, such as seafood, rare earth materials, and tourism. And the other, yeah,
I, I was in two minds if I should say anything. So I was going to say initially when they said, natural resources, I was like, well, maybe in other Caribbean countries, not necessarily in Antigua, because we're very small, and how much can they really get? And then I'm reminded that one of the agreements for this was it the special economic zone that they could have a whole seafood industry there. So I agree. Yeah,
yeah,
advantage for them, disadvantage for
that's
me, for
advantages, eh?
us,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it goes against, you're giving us money or funding to go towards climate change, but on the other hand, you're literally destroying the
Hmm.
marine environment. So
Hmm. This final advantage I have here, because I have three for Antigua and three for China. The partnership can increase China's international recognition and legitimacy as more Caribbean countries support China's position on issues such as Taiwan, human rights, and climate change.
but of course, one of the things that the Labour Party government, not just Prime Minister Gaston Brown, the Labour Party government in itself believes in a one China policy. And I said I wanted to do a box on that, actually ask people, do you support the one China policy? And I think what I might get is people not even knowing what that
What?
is.
Mhm.
So we have a government who touts that, it's one China, it's one China. They even sent out a press release, was it 2 weeks ago or less, when Taiwan elected a new president.
Mhm.
They were like, oh, it's a one China policy. Taiwan is part of China. And so, of course, the Chinese have an advantage there because when they give you money, they expect something in return. Nothing is free.
Mhm.
They expect your support. They expect you to be on their side. Um, one of your books said something about slave. What's the title of that?
How far we come? You see, so my husband books come in handy, eh?
How what's it? How far we slaves
These
have
slaves
come.
come.
Nelson Mandela and Fidel
And
Castro.
that's for the Castro, yeah.
I think what I hear from people a lot is, oh, they want to make us slaves again. I'm not gonna be slaves to China, man. I think we have a perfect opportunity as a people. We have the internet at the palm of our hands. We can learn how to do things on YouTube. I think what we need to do, especially knowing that in these circumstances, it's not something we can't change. We can change. We can't pick up the phone and call Prime Minister Gaston and say, "Well, we don't want that. Take it back."
Mm-hmm.
It's already signed,
Mm-hmm.
sealed, and delivered.
Not
Um,
delivered but signed, eh? And it's
that's
serious
right.
not delivered but
Not
signed.
delivered.
You know,
We
and one
hardly see delivery.
if I can just slip off the professional bar a little bit. And I was saying when I was watching the videos of these elderly people signing away my grandchildren and great grandchildren future. Because Sir Malwin is an elderly man there. Prime Minister Gaston Brown kind of reasonable with his age. Sir Malwin well old. Ambassador Harris well old. And I guess Chet Green just turned MP Chet Green turned 60 or whatever.
Could you
But
believe that? I was kind of shocked about the 60. I was like, he's 60? I don't know. I thought he was middle aged.
whole, whole 60.
But you're right. You're right.
But you
And they
understand
were all men, by the way.
exact you get it. You get it. Because again, what's the fine print? How do we get to see it? When are we going to get to see it? When do we get to go through the fine print? Because again, you're signing this on behalf of the country. It's like you're telling me you want cake, and I'm saying, no, I don't want cake. It says, yes, you want cake. Eat the cake.
And
Because you want the cake.
there was a story where the leader of the opposition was, I don't want to say furious, concerned, and said that they didn't know, the government didn't discuss about them establishing this embassy in China. You
But it
know,
wasn't in the budget, it was in the budget.
exactly.
Respectfully to the I go to say the MPP. I don't even know who's the MPP. There might be a new party. The UPP. It was in the budget, and
It was.
also the UPP had a long time afterwards to prepare for the People's Parliament. It was in there too. So if you'd gone through the budget, you would have seen that too at the People's Parliament.
Yep, yep. And I don't know how everybody would have missed that. Somebody actually sent me
Alicia, Alicia's frozen. I think somebody's trying to
Kenny.
get to Alicia's
Yeah, I was
phone.
trying to get information, but apparently it's
I was
somebody
like,
actually sent me the page. They said it's on page 215. So they themselves, when they heard the story on the news that the opposition was saying, well, they weren't aware, it was like, well, it was in the budget presentation.
exactly,
And
exactly.
again, that is why it is important that people take the time, and the government gives the time and allows
Mhm,
the opposition to go. Because
mhm.
to be honest, I've seen those books, and I don't think 1 week would be enough for me to go through those
Yeah.
books and make a proper presentation.
Hmm.
Because I like to ask 20 questions. I need to get in contact with this one. I need somebody to calculate these figures. Do they make sense? So I
Yeah.
think we're doing the country a disservice. And I know a lot of people um like they enjoy the theatrics when it happens. Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah. They only need 2 days. They said they know so much and blah blah blah.
mhm,
But
mhm.
we're doing ourselves a disadvantage when we do things like that. Because one, the opposition doesn't get a fair chance to honestly go through the budget and raise concerns. The opposition represents the people who put them there. So no,
Yeah.
they're not in government, but the persons in those areas said, we don't want the other people. We want them. They will be a voice in parliament. And if you don't allow them to do their jobs or don't give them time, now if you give them time and they don't do the job, it's a different thing.
Mhm.
But you cannot not allow them the time and then say, well, they were talking about all the time what they that's not what was in the budget. They were talking about what they knew was coming, which
Yeah.
was the ABST. Pretty much the ABST. That's all we knew. So I
Mhm.
think we're doing ourselves a disservice and we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage when we let politicians color us in red and blue and allow us to miss the picture.
Exactly. I agree. I'd like us to go to the disadvantages for Antigua and disadvantages for China. And then I'll read some of the comments because I know our audience is here and you guys are participating too. So I definitely want you to participate. But let me add, Alicia, I still think they should have shown up. I still think they should have shown up. I don't agree with them not showing up. I still think they should have shown up.
I
Whether
said the
they
same
show up and
thing.
do a sit out or they show up and they don't speak or whatever they do, they should have shown up. They should have shown up. They should have shown up.
I
They should
said the
have
same
shown up.
thing. But I mean, it was a toughie, right? Because I said, well, at least they should have shown up. But then what would have happened is, well, the government would talk about things. They would try to respond, and it's like, oh, you don't even know what you're talking about. This and this was there, and so it would be a show. I
Yeah.
think if they did show up, it was just to show that we are present here on the date.
I see
Um,
Jamel
and
is saying, I see Jamel Knight say at least the long-standing members should have, and that's an agreement there too. At least maybe Pringle himself and Trevor Walker, MP Trevor Walker, should have shown up. Anyway, we on China. Let me stay on China because again, if we're talking, if we're talking about how the parliament is being run at the moment and not giving enough time and this kind of dictatorial bravado kind of, you do what I say, there will be no investigation and there will be none.
mhm.
This is what we're living with, like, seriously, respectfully, this is what we're living with, and if that's what's happening in parliament, if we look at a wider picture of what's happening here and mm, all right, let's not go there. Let's go to the
Let's go to the
disadvantages.
disadvantages then.
Let's go to the disadvantages. So disadvantages for Antigua, I have the partnership can expose Antigua to the risk of debt,
Mhm.
dependency, and corruption, as some of the Chinese projects and loans may have hidden costs and conditions that are unfavorable for Antigua. I think that's hands down a disadvantage.
I think that can happen with any investment that you make. I mean, if you as a government, you're making such, and it's not to say they go to the Chinese government or the Chinese bank for 50 cents.
Mm,
We're talking millions of dollars. So
yes,
if you are going to get millions of dollars from anyone, I think you as the government should read the fine print. Um, I don't necessarily want to agree that it's a disadvantage. It only becomes a disadvantage if the government does not do its due diligence.
yes, I agree. I'll come to the comments, guys. I see you guys having comments. I did encourage you to leave them. We'll share them for sure. 1 second. Let's put some facts on the table. Disadvantage for Antigua. The partnership can damage Antigua's environment and biodiversity, as some of the Chinese projects and activities may threaten the marine reserve, the coastal vegetation, and the endangered species in the area.
Either. That's one word. We know, of course. Of course.
Yes, of course. The partnership can undermine, is another disadvantage. The partnership can undermine Antigua's sovereignty and identity, as some of the Chinese projects and agreements may create a special economic zone that is separate from the rest of the country and may influence the public opinion and policy decisions of Antigua.
Again, neither. The special economic zone was meant to be somewhat of a state within a state. And then what you would have had is a number of people, because it was a CIP project as well. So, um, Yida Investment International has the authority to act as a CIP agent and to facilitate CIP passports. And so, eventually, what would have happened just in that little pocket there is that you'd have thousands or tens of thousands or how many ever people who live there and who now have Antigua passport, they're now able to vote. All right. And already in Antigua and Barbuda, we're so diverse. We have so many different nationalities, so many people with different opinions. What will happen is if I give you something, Nikki, I give you $10,000 to invest in something. And I say 10 years down the line or 5 years down the line, well, Nikki, I really need some help, Yeah, can you help me out? Of course. So what's going to happen is that these people may more than likely already have a sway in political party as to who it is that they're going to vote for. So,
Mhm.
in essence, indirectly, it's keeping one political party in power because they've
Mhm.
now provided you an access, um, and has given you what you wanted, which is your own little state outside of. And don't believe that you could just walk into that economic zone, if it
You
was
did
going
an
to be functioning.
exclusive.
You could
You
not.
did an exclusive on it.
Yeah, you could not walk into that zone. So it's not to say you can, like how you walk into St. John's, you could not do that. You had to be either there for work, either a resident or some diplomat or whatever. So it wasn't a simple thing as just walking in and getting access. It was a state within a state.
And what is the state of it now? Like, what's happening? Because I saw that Yida had
Time
this
I went there.
court case, and what's the latest on that?
The last time I went there, I believe, was either early January of last year or the end of December of 2022, as in I went by boat,
Hmm.
and pretty much nothing was happening. Some of the structures that they had in the water, that was pretty much falling apart. There were weeds. There was a vehicle there, and it seemed to be perhaps someone just staying there to ensure that nobody breaks in or whatever. But nothing much is going on. In relation to the case, Ida has several cases in the court. He had the case with Lux Locations, and he
Hmm.
had to pay them 4.4 million US dollars.
So they won the case against him.
They have always won. The problem was he wasn't paying, and so they
Okay.
reinforced that, and he paid, I think, 4 point something in the first instance, and he had a 4 million about that, and then he had the balance of $400,000 that he was supposed to pay them. But
Hmm.
then there is another lawsuit for US 850 million for that same special economic zone, and that was brought um against him by Heskey Capital, which is an Antiguan family, or I think there's six generation
Hesse?
family. Yes.
John Hesse?
No, Heskey.
Heskey. Oh,
Yes.
because I know John Hesse, or if it's Hesse, his name is, was one of the representatives for the Africa Union, something, 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 something. But
I believe they're related. There was this famous footballer in the UK. Oh gosh, his name slips me. But they're related to him. And
mm,
so apparently what happened with that, and I know we still talk about China.
it's still China because Yida is Chinese.
So what happened? Remember that project was announced in 2014, 2015. They said 5 years. In 5 years, we're going to see something happen. And obviously, nothing was happening. And so at one point, Heskey Capital, in order to get the investment to build that zone, entered into an agreement where they were to get an investor, and they got an investor called Vis Ventures, who had committed to paying 850 investing, sorry, 850 million US dollars into the
Mhm,
zone.
mhm,
However, there was a stipulation within that contract that either could not do business with that said company or any investors that they would have. He could not approach them. And
mhm,
apparently he did that with the Antigua and Barbuda government. So he approached Miss Ventures with the Antigua and Barbuda government. Um, and what Heskey Capital is saying is they did that and left them out. So they attempted to make a deal with this and the Antigua and Barbuda government, and by
mhm,
doing so breached the contract. And so now they're now suing them for $850 million because they were supposed to get 700 and I think 65 acres of land within the zone. The zone is about
mhm,
1,600 acres. So
mhm.
that was part of the deal as well. So they're suing for the land. They're suing pretty much, I believe the Antigua and Barbuda government might be named on that lawsuit, but I'd have to see
Let's go with the disadvantages, buddy.
it.
Disadvantages for Antigua. I did read that one, but I want to read that last disadvantage again because I know you said a special economic zone and NIDA, but there's more. When it says here about the influence of public opinion and policy decisions of Antigua, that is like key.
Of
Key
course,
to be
as I
concerned
said,
about.
if I give you money, I expect you to be on my side. You're my friend, right? Uh,
Yes.
of course, your decisions are going to be affected by how anything else affects me. If the US says well, we're no longer trade partners with China. Antigua and Barbuda will now have to think, long and hard as to what its position is. Now,
Yes,
China has given you all this money more than the US, so it obviously is going to sway your decision and influence what it is that you'll be deciding at the end of the day.
exactly. Disadvantages for China. I have the same three disadvantages. I have the first one. The partnership can provoke the suspicion and hostility of the US and other Western countries who may perceive China's involvement in the region as a strategic challenge and a threat to their interests and values. No comments needed. Trust me.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's a disadvantage. I don't know if China cares because again, China has this very huge economy. It
Hmm.
can pair up with anybody that it chooses to, and not necessarily the US. So, but that is
Hmm.
a disadvantage.
I have another one here. The partnership can face the resistance and criticism of some local groups and individuals in Antigua and Barbuda who may oppose China's projects and activities for various reasons, such as environmental, social, or political concerns.
That's a disadvantage, but none of the disadvantages so far seem to affect China as much as it
China as
would
much.
Antigua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried really hard to find.
To find the
I did. I
disadvantage.
did. The third one I have here is the partnership can encounter the difficulties and uncertainties of the regional situation, such as the impact of climate change, the instability of governments, and the complexity of some disputes. I really tried hard. I really, really tried. Those are the disadvantages I can find.
So the block, I think it's 15 of us, is it? In the Eastern Caribbean, in CARICOM area,
Mhm.
in the Caribbean region, who have a vote. Is it 11 or 15? Anyways, all of us in the Caribbean have a vote in the United Nations.
We don't have a vote
Uh,
anymore. Antigua does not have a vote anymore. Antigua had a vote. We don't have a vote anymore.
how do you mean we don't have a vote?
What do you mean? What I mean? We don't have a vote. We don't have a vote anymore. I remember reporting on that and even asking questions about that. Antigua lost the vote at the UN. Antigua does not have a vote at the UN.
How do you lose your vote at the UN?
Say something while I Google. Come, you say
Anyways,
something while I
yeah, you
Google.
Google it. But no, but the point I'm making is every vote counts in the UN. It doesn't matter how small you are and how large you are. And perhaps there will come a time when there's a policy that needs to be voted on, and it takes 5 votes in China's favor. And those 5 votes might very well have to come from the Caribbean. So as small as we are, we're all the same size when it comes to UN votes. Did you get that information, Nikki?
I have it right
I
here
don't
now.
know. I
Listen,
I have not heard that, so I'm very
my
interested to hear that.
brain and my memory is like elephant. Okay, my brain and memory is like elephant. I pull up the article right here, and it says Iran, Venezuela, and Sudan and others lose UN voting rights. 1/12/2022. In total, 11 countries are behind on membership dues, and
Oh,
8 have had their right to vote suspended. Iran blamed US sanctions for the lack of funds. Iran, Venezuela, and Sudan have lost their right to vote at the UN nation due to unpaid dues, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Tuesday. In total, 11 countries are behind in their payments, of which 8 have lost their vote. I'm trying to get the names for you. The 5 other countries that have lost their right to vote are Antigua and Barbuda,
mm-hmm.
Congo, Guinea, Papa.
Guinea, Papa, you're killing me. Papa New Guinea.
No, it says Guinea and then it says Papua New Guinea and
No,
Vanuatu.
no. Okay, so it's different. There's Guinea and there's Papua New Guinea.
You see, that's why you're here, Elisha. But yeah.
Oh no, that is just a formality, in my opinion, because they're gonna pay the fees and they can vote again. But the point I was making pretty much is on the UN stage, everybody has a vote, and those votes from those Caribbean countries, one they count in favor of China. So China knows what it's doing. And again, it's not just Caribbean countries that China is having influence on. France,
Wait,
Germany,
wait, Elisha, you said we're
it's
gonna pay
making it
the fees.
uh,
Elisha, you said we're gonna pay the fees, yeah? We're gonna pay the fees. We have the money to pay
Yeah.
the fees. Let me tell you how much is the fees. So the five other
How much is
countries
it?
each must make a minimum payment of less than $75,000 or euro
We got the
$65,550.
money, Nikki. Nikki, don't you worry about that. Nikki, what are you talking about? If Nikki, if China wants your vote, that is pocket change for China to give you and say, look, pay the people and them, you have your vote back. That's pocket change. I thought you were gonna call millions this a while now.
So you're trying to say the economic powerhouse don't have the money, but they're gonna borrow it from China or get it from
They have
China?
to get it somewhere. That's how all governments work. We never
So,
really, well, let me say we
so
like we're part of the
what's the
government.
point
You
of
never
having
really have money, but you have to
so
find the money in it.
what's the point of having the vote if you're going to lose the vote and then have somebody pay you to have your vote? Because you're not
No,
gonna
I
be
think in all fairness, what's the date of the article? You said 2022?
22. Yes, we're in 24.
All right. In all fairness, we had different priorities. COVID came in 2020, and I'm not sure if I was a minister or prime minister in charge, of finance, that I would prioritize paying the UN for a vote as
Mm.
opposed to ensuring that the economy stays up during the
You're not
COVID
paying for a
pandemic.
vote, you're paying for your membership. And
No, but
there
that's
is
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. But the most important thing to me about the membership is having that ability to vote because again, no matter how small you are in the UN, we're all the same size when we vote.
Mhm.
That I want to bet, I want to say without actually seeing for myself, I'm pretty sure that membership has been paid or part of it has been paid in anticipation of things to come. Where the money came from, I cannot say, but I'm just saying. You have to strategize, Nikki. You have to know what the song say by Kenny Rogers. Know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Yes. That's funny.
Mhm.
All right. So did I give how many disadvantages did I give? Was that all of it or no? All right. So I said here the last one was the partnership can encounter the difficulties and uncertainties of the regional situation, such as the impact of climate change, the instability of governments, and the complexity of some disputes. I mentioned that or no? Was that the
Say that
third
again.
one?
You read really, really fast a little while
All
ago.
right. Okay, so the third and final one I have here is the partnership can
Mhm,
encounter the difficulties and uncertainties of the regional situation, such as the impact of climate change, the instability of some governments, and the complexity of some disputes. So I might not have mentioned that, but
mhm.
I list a couple of things that we should be worried about. For Antigua, I think that Antigua should be worried about the loss of control and autonomy over our resources, our territory, and our future as a result of the unequal and unsustainable partnership with China. That's what I really think.
Yeah.
I think also that we should be worried about the degradation and destruction of our natural and cultural heritage as a result of irresponsible and invasive partnership, whether with China or with anybody. Another one that I think that we
Some
should,
people might curse me if I say
yeah,
that already. I feel like that is already happening, even without the influence of China, because China is not the only group of people or nationality of people within Antigua and Barbuda. Again, Antigua and Barbuda is very diverse. So we already see that happening, that loss of cultural heritage and things like that. So
mm,
we can't totally blame that on China. That will be an impact, but we
yes,
can't say, well, it's because totally of China. Go ahead, though.
yeah. This one says here another thing that we should be worried about is the erosion and dilution of our democracy
Hmm.
and human rights as a result of incompatible and influential partnership. And I think that's one of the things that I'm really concerned about in the sense of our democracy. One thing I can say, I'm not jumping to conclusion, but whenever I know that you're on the post cabinet press briefing, you get the cabinet notes, you get all the notes when it's coming.
Yeah.
Whenever there's not a cabinet meeting, there's an email. If it's going to be next week, it's going to come. If it's going to be, there's no notes or we're going to be late or whatever, we have always gotten an email. This
Hmm.
week, we heard nothing. I don't
Mr.
know if
Hurst
you
was busy.
noticed.
What do you mean? Mr. Hurst had to travel too. What?
This week we heard nothing. And when Mr. Hurst had traveled before, there was a young man that was replying on
Yeah.
behalf of Mr. Hurst. I remember that too. So it's never happened before. So for me, I just want to put that out there for us to pay attention. There was no email and there was no post cabinet press briefing. There was no notes. There was no update. There was just nothing. There was just pure silence. I put that out there. Now we're talking about the way that China. One thing I remember too, when Terry Andrew came from China and he was on ABS television, he was being asked about the experience, and he was talking about how press briefings are done in China and so on. And he says,
Mhm.
"Oh, the press briefings that we do here in Antigua is not done that way in China. In China, you present your questions first." So in China, as a journalist, you send your questions in for the
Mhm.
post cabinet press briefing. I guess they decide, or they go through the questions and then they decide which questions that they're going to ask. And then they let you know, well, this is your question. We're going to take one question from you. We're going to take one question from you. And we're going to take, one question from you. I would be very concerned if our post cabinet press briefing start to take that road.
I wouldn't. What I would be concerned about is if they only limit the questions. Because sometimes when we come to the cabinet,
Elisha,
obviously
they
ask them.
already limit the questions. Elisha, do you watch the press
No,
briefing?
hear me out. Hear me. When I say limit, I mean literally pick what it is that they're going to answer and not answer. All right.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
I think there is some advantage to sending in your question before, because sometimes we ask, or a lot of times, all the times we ask questions that are not in the cabinet notes.
Mm-hmm,
And all we often hear is, well, I don't know, I'll have to look into it. I'm not aware of it. And sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my time on the
mm-hmm,
cabinet press briefing.
mm-hmm.
So implementing that part won't be so bad. What I wouldn't advocate for is that you get to choose, what you respond to and nothing else.
I get what you're saying with that, but I'm having a challenge now because I'm following up on the death at Clearview. And when that happened, there was a press conference that Sir Malwin Joseph called. Myself and Gemma Handy was there. That happened November 28th or
I
thereabout.
remember.
Pardon?
I said I remember. I remember that
Okay.
like yesterday.
Yeah, and we've been following up ever since. I've been to two post cabinet press briefings for the year and I've asked about it. Melford Nicholas, Honorable Melford Nicholas, was bold enough to tell me that I need to follow up with the ministers and I need to run them down. And if they don't answer, I need to email them again and email them again. We did. On that same Thursday, we sent a follow up email. Actually, Gemma sent a follow up email asking for some information, and that didn't happen.
Right.
We're not getting answers. We're not getting any kind of response or rapport from the government ministers. Some government ministers, we're not getting that. So I'm not sure if the sending the questions would make sense either. How could sending the questions make sense when they say follow up with emails, and that too is not being followed through.
Well, there's hope. That's all we can do for is hope. What I do like though is that the cabinet press briefing is now being hosted live, so everyone can see it. Because before, it used to be hosted behind closed doors, and the journalists would ask the questions and so on. And sometimes it used to get so infuriating because the answers were sometimes generic, or they don't know, or they were blah. And then we would come and we would report the news, and people would be like, oh, why the journalists not asking them this and that? And, we're not hearing blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
When in fact, it is that they're not answering. And so I was so very happy that people got to see that for themselves, that this is what we have to deal with.
What if that change?
What if it changed?
What if it changed? I mean, we're talking about this new agreement or whatever. We don't know what's to come. What if it changes?
Well, then we'll have to do our jobs then, Nikki, as, as journalists and media
Doing our
people.
jobs anyway.
Yeah. Well, what um I think journalists here would be able to do a much better job if we actually formed a proper association. Because in an association, you can literally take an entity to court. I have sent out 50 freedom of information requests for the year. Collectively, we have, and none of them have been answered. There's a law in the book, and I'm sure there are penalties for each
You
law.
sent out
And then
50 50?
I'm just giving an example as
Okay, okay.
to
Yes,
the
yes,
power of an association.
yes.
Because individually, because uh, within the past year or so, or last couple of months, we have seen new faces or new entities. We've seen Island Press Box, we've seen Independent, we've seen Free Press, we've seen Independent Journalists, we've seen Twin Island Media, all added. And everybody seems to have that one goal of
Hmm.
not only getting information, but getting it right, of
Yeah.
digging a little
Hmm.
bit deeper. And I think sometimes we're going about it wrong,
Hmm.
because there are just so many of us stretched thin. And in my opinion, we'd be better served to have collaborative journalism, which is sort of what is happening here. I'm on your platform. You have an opportunity to be on mine, whatever.
Yes.
So what happens is that the government or politicians or whomever don't see the media as divided. They don't think that they can whisper in one side's ear and then tell the other side
Yeah.
another thing. So it's not that we're not doing our job. I just think collectively we could do it more, much more better.
I
So that's what's going to
definitely
have to happen if they pull a China on us.
I definitely agree. And I have been looking into this idea of association because they have other journalists in Antigua that I've spoken to about it. And it's something that we need to do, and we need to definitely be unified as journalists. But I think what's happening is that many of our journalists in Antigua are intimidated. Let's just say that, very much intimidated to ask the questions, or to follow up on an issue, or to, maybe scared, or in somebody's pocket, or too friendly. There's so many aspects of it, because I messaged someone today, or I think it was yesterday, to invite them to be a part of the platform tonight. And one of the comments that they said to me is, I'm going to read it. It says, honestly though, Nikki, the media in Antigua are a bunch of quacks. They have always been afraid to ask politicians hard questions, and they do little research. That's a comment.
I mean, I know about quacks, and I can't speak for everybody else. I can only speak for
Well,
the media
I can
people
speak for
that I
myself.
know,
You can
and I
speak for
can,
me because you
yeah.
know your work. I know my work. We know the quality of our delivery, and the
And
effort
again,
put in. But to some
uh,
extent, like for example, sorry to cut you, but for example, when I'm on the post cabinet press briefing, I feel like if I'm doing something wrong. Like when I'm asking these questions or whatever, I'm the bad guy, and everybody else is just so nice and so accommodating to the government. Everybody just asks the wonderful questions, like to say, like, in the cabinet notes, I saw that you said, and something, something, something in the cabinet notes, sir, could you tell me? But
well,
nobody's touching
we
the
all
issue,
know,
nobody's touching the hard
we all
questions.
know the people who say those things or ask those questions. I think though, so my strategy when I'm doing cabinet press briefing, and I haven't done it in a while. One, there are certain questions I just won't ask because I know they don't have the answer. And they will spend 5 minutes telling me that they don't have the answer. And
Sometimes.
that's a question wasted for me, and that's time wasted. I
Mm-hmm.
would go directly to the source if I know the source is more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that, in a sense, you're right, because most times the journalists who are more reserved in the questions that they ask are from Antigua. And that was a discussion that I had sometime this year, actually, when I said, I like CARICOM and I like free movement for the simple fact that as a Dominican living in Antigua, the stakes are much lower for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could victimize me, you could probably deport me, but that would not influence what it is that I'm going to do. And when I come here, I don't come with any bias. I don't know you. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it is that you've done. I come to report the facts. And
Mm-hmm.
so I said, well, perhaps the answer to that, and the answer to reduce the victimization that journalists face, is maybe we should do cultural exchange. Maybe an Antiguan journalist should go to Dominica to report
Mm-hmm.
because you have um, no favors, you have no qualms. A Dominican go to Antigua, a Kittian go to St. Lucia, and that
Yeah.
is how we're going to make it work. work. And even
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if they decide for whatever reason, and it has to be legal, nobody can just deport you for speaking.
Hmm.
For whatever reason, they send us back to a country. There's internet. I think journalists, as much as internet can serve as a disadvantage, it also makes us unstoppable. We just
Yeah.
need to make the right connections.
Alicia, I reported on Antigua Airways and do all my breaking stories from here.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything, the lawsuit, the everything, the people business, all the calling, all the everything from right here.
Yeah.
Most times when I sit to the press briefing and ask them questions, I'm here. I'm coming soon though. I'm coming soon. But I'm here.
Nikki, you make Max's vex now. Don't, no, no,
Make
don't do that to
show up
Max.
in person too. What is it? Show up in person, face to face. You were saying, talk
Max's own. You
about
can't take that. Don't do that to the poor man. Don't do that to the poor man's hat. But no, and outside of that too, Nikki, I I get tired of people complaining about journalists. All right, not the system itself, but oh, journalists, this they don't do this, they don't do research. We don't have the resources. Half of us, if not all of us, are doing second and third jobs or projects on
Mhm,
the side
mhm,
because the money that we get, it does not stretch enough to make us comfortable to sit down and have time to research something for days and weeks. I know we like
mhm.
to hear the fancy things on BBC and CNN and how they went in depth and undercover. Some of them take a whole year to do that.
Yep.
Sometimes we don't even have a day to write an article.
Mhm,
All right. We can't verify. Sometimes the people that you're calling and you're emailing, they're not responding to you.
mhm.
So it's not just as simple as saying, well, the journalists, they don't do this, they're a bunch of quacks. I don't think that's way. I think there are a number of people who are in journalism that don't need to be there because they come off often as spokespersons or they're just there for the job.
The
And I
proper
think,
machine. Mhm.
yeah, they're weakening what the industry is supposed to be like. But then that there are those of us who honestly we're trying to get as much information. We're trying. I used to get told all the time by Carl, rest his soul, he's be like,
Yeah.
you're always writing some boring stories because no matter every time he looked at me, everybody's writing their story and their story is 500-600 words and mine is 1,000 going plus. I say because I have to give all the details. I
Yes.
have to tell. So I know people don't like to read, but it's like there's someone out there who's reading my story and they're satisfied that I'm giving all the details.
I
So
like to read
some
the
of us take our
details.
time to do our work.
I like the details, because you want to flow, you want the story to flow, you want to understand what's happening, you want to give a good clear picture, of whatever you're speaking about. And this discussion has taken a holistic approach tonight, and I trust that our audience, yourself, myself, that we all can understand the importance of a free press, the importance of having an avenue where you hold the government accountable. If we didn't have a free press, if we didn't have Observer, and we didn't have ZDK, and we didn't have all these different radio stations, and I can use the example of Observer, we would have had a gun factory in Antigua and Barbuda right now. If
Yeah,
Serpent did
man.
not
I thought I was the only one who
on
remembered that.
his show, if Serpent did not sit down on his show and spill the beans for the many times that he spilled the beans, but spill the beans on a gun factory that you are actually considering as a government, actually considering putting a gun factory in Antigua and Barbuda. And in
I thought I was the only
2024,
one, Nikki, who remembered that little story there,
no man, I
I thought
remember
y'all don't remember?
my brain, like, and in 2024 we now have this issue with our youth and the youth violence and all that. What would have happened to us from the time we would have had a gun factory to now?
Hmm.
What would have happened if there was no media for those things to come forward? you
And
know
that's the thing. Out of all the factories we could have had, special thanks to China, a gun factory. What about
Thank you.
a computer assembling factory? Anything else,
Coding,
Lord?
any kind of coding, we're into AI now, artificial intelligence, everything that's happening with open AI and all that. Where are we with that? Where are we? You know?
Yeah.
So it's a holistic discussion tonight. And I know that you have to run. I myself have to run. But I want to give our audience and myself, of course, for us to wrap up tonight, I need us to have some takeaway points. And our takeaway points for tonight: The agreement between ABS and Antigua is a media cooperation deal that aims to share resources, enhance training, promote culture, and support development between Antigua and Barbuda and China. We see that that's what it is. It's going to happen, because Antigua needs that opportunity. ABS especially needs that opportunity to, come into the 21st century of media presentation and reporting.
Mhm.
Facts. The agreement is part of China's global media influence strategy, people, which seeks to expand its presence and influence in the Caribbean region and beyond throughout various channels and networks. It's a fact. Key point. Let's serious. The agreement poses both opportunities and challenges for Antigua and Barbuda as it can bring benefits, like we were talking about tonight, investment, trade, aid, risk, but it can also bring the risk and the dependency and the corruption, which we mentioned earlier. The agreement is not a zero sum game. I mean, in the sense of it being very complex and dynamic with regards to the mutual respect and the trust and the communication. And when I say that, Elisha, I want to make reference to an article I was reading um, where when I was reading the article from China reporting on what the prime minister was saying to President Xi Jinping,
Mhm.
there was one line. Words are very serious. Like when you're using words, they're very definitive, I think. And one of the lines was basically saying something like Antigua and Barbuda um, understand China's firm stance on the one China economy, whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
Antigua and Barbuda, if I'm paraphrasing, but the word understands the firm stance. You get that? The
Mhm.
firm stance. So you know what you're getting into. We're telling you this is what we're about, and you're getting involved in this. So you need to know, you know.
Yeah, because
Um,
we've heard in that regard, we've heard China saying, by really any means necessary, again paraphrasing, um, they don't mind talking it out, they don't mind working it out verbally in terms of getting Taiwan back into, that one China um place. However, they're like, well, if we have to do what we have to do, if we have to take it by force, then we have to take it by force. So that in itself is understood. And of course, you're right. We have a government who continues to say they're in support of that one China policy. So they do know what they're getting into.
mhm.
Um, I'll stop there, Nikki.
One of the key things I really want us to take away tonight, like I really, really want a key takeaway point is this. Antigua and Barbuda. We should be informed and engaged with the people and the media. It is so, so important. Like reading, listening to the news, reading the newspapers, watching ABS, Twin Island Media, reading Island Press Box articles. We need to understand the importance of not ignoring or suppressing the voices and the concerns of the citizens of Antigua and Barbuda and be able to allow or not allow any kind of influence or manipulation from China on from this agreement. It's something that's so important because there are real issues in Antigua and Barbuda. There are real nefarious activities that are happening in various spaces. We can say that. There's so many things are happening. People are hurting, people are aching, people are broke, people are dying, people are suffering. There are many issues, many things that are happening in people's lives, and we need to ensure that they have a voice, that they're able to state, to express, to reach out. They must be able to have a defense, and the media is that defense. The platform is that defense. Island Press Box is that defense. Phoenix Free Press, this platform, Free Press 268, that is the platform for it because we need to understand the importance of this media. Elisha, you want to add anything else? Because I'm just giving our takeaway points for tonight, guys.
Well, I
Any?
mean, you mentioned us being the platform for people to voice their concerns.
Mhm.
However, the people need to voice their concerns. One of the things that I find when I'm doing interviews or reporting is that oftentimes nobody wants to say anything, but they automatically expect you to know and they expect you to report it on the news. And they say, oh, why they didn't say this and this? Because nobody spoke. And I can't make up a story and bring it to you. oftentimes people say, oh, it's always the Prime Minister's voice that we hear. It's always Max Hurst. Because these are the people who speak.
Mm-hmm.
If us as a society used to speak as much as the politicians, we'd be in a better place. If you want to speak anonymously, and Nikki, maybe that is something that needs to happen. Maybe journalists, again, that association needs to create a secured platform where persons can, express themselves, sending any information
Mm-hmm.
without any reprisal. But in order for us to do our work and to do it well, we need people to speak, because we can't be everywhere all
Mm-hmm.
the time. It's like the police and them say, if you see something, say something. It's the same slogan we have as
Mm-hmm.
media. We will do the work, but we need something to work with.
Yes, yes, definitely. So I trust tonight we were able together, myself and Alicia was able to give you, a deeper understanding. But I wanted to show a little video, Alicia, before you go. I know you might have to run. I'm not going to keep it too long, but I want to show a video here when we were talking about free press and the importance of press. And I need to show this. I need to show this. Where is it?
Bloodshed in Mexico. Another journalist killed this week.
As we see, that camera person just got shot.
Last year,
First of all, let me just let you guys know that this video that you're about to see, this is from The Economist, and this is about this journalists, how journalists are attacked, murdered. Just a little bit of it. Just watch a little bit.
Tonight, more bloodshed in Mexico. Another journalist killed this week.
As we see, that camera person just got shot.
last year, record numbers of journalists were imprisoned. Many others were attacked and murdered just for doing their jobs.
I am press. I don't care if you're down.
Okay, I'm down.
I'm Avantika Chilkoti. I'm the international correspondent at The Economist. For many journalists, being able to report freely is becoming much harder. But this isn't just happening in authoritarian states.
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you stay categorical?
You are fake news.
In 2022, press freedom is being eroded in democracies too.
Is this the price one needs to pay to speak the truth?
And governments everywhere are using more subtle tactics to muzzle independent media.
It's always about silencing the target,
which is bad news for global democracy. I want to find out what's going on and how the freedom of the press can be protected.
Just no word for it, and you just feel that I wish it could just stop. I felt like I have been slut shamed and I have been made naked for the public. It was a virtual lynch mob that is out there to get me.
Rana Ayub is an award-winning journalist based in India. Her work has appeared in publications around the world. She's reported on the rise of Hindu nationalism in India and on corruption in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. Her work has drawn the attention of the authorities, who are trying to shut her up.
I think the authorities are trying to silence me because they find my truth unpalatable. It's not a popular truth, it's something that reveals them, exposes them. They believe that I am trying to discredit their image internationally.
Rana, so nice to meet you. I really wanted to talk to Rana because for the past few years, she's faced unimaginable online abuse and harassment.
What I'm living right now is a nightmare that I had not anticipated. Death and rape threats. I get burnt copies of my book at my residence. But the other day I was in a news studio in Bombay and I got a message on my phone that we are standing downstairs. We know where you are. My image was morphed on a porn video and circulated all over the country. Slut-shamed into silence.
Many of those threats appear to come from members of the public, online trolls who don't like what Rana stands for. But government harassment is also becoming increasingly explicit.
There is the constant fear of being arrested. There is a constant fear of being surveilled upon. I have at least 4 cases which I'm facing right now. 2 from the Uttar Pradesh police, 1 from the Enforcement Directorate, 1 by the Income Tax Department. I am 100% convinced it's all by the government.
Rana is not alone. In the world's largest democracy, press freedom is enshrined in the Constitution. But harassment of journalists has increased under the Bharatiya Janata Party, who came to power in 2014. Prime Minister Modi, the leader of the party, has been described as a predator of press freedom. Pressure has increased on media organisations to toe the government line. There's a pattern of critical journalists being intimidated with online hate campaigns, police violence, and even criminal prosecution.
It's a living, breathing, claustrophobic feeling.
I've worked as a foreign correspondent in India, and to witness today's state silencing of its media is shocking. India is 150th out of 180 countries on the Global Press Freedom Index, having fallen 8 places in a single year. And it is by no means the only democracy languishing in the bottom half. The index is compiled by Reporters Without Borders, a charity that campaigns for independent journalism. Its director of international campaigns is Rebecca Vincent.
Press freedom has steadily deteriorated around the world year by year. Even our democracies, when we look at the performance of, for example, Europe, which has long been the region that respects press freedom the most, even there.
Why is press freedom getting worse? And in particular, why in democracies?
We've had geopolitical issues, we've had economic issues, which also impact the media. I mean, we also saw some leaders taking advantage of attention being on the pandemic to maybe accelerate pre-existing crackdowns or start to implement new restrictions. And then, of course, COVID-related restrictions as well. In some countries, we saw a real backlash against independent reporting, targeting of journalists who were actually reporting the truth on figures in their country or taking a critical approach to their governments.
I guess you think about the media as an important part of democracy. It's the way in which you'd hold a government accountable. It's the way in which people, members of the public, can share their stories and what they want and need. And so if you don't have that mechanism, you don't have that dialogue, it's pretty hard to imagine how you can have a strong and vibrant democracy. Another index compiled by the
All right, guys, so I'm going to stop it here for now because it's about 17 minutes long. If you want to see the full video, I can send it to you, or I can post the link on my page, and you can have a watch of it, have a view. But this is very serious. Again, it is a cause for us to pay attention, to be woke as much as we need to be regarding everything that's happening around us, happening in the media, being a bit more informed. With regards to the agreement, we need to know more about what that agreement entails, and if we can have a copy, or we speak to those who are responsible for putting the agreement together. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on the platform. Thank you for taking the time. Every single Saturday at 8 p.m. This is where we're at. I thank you. I've been contemplating a Tuesday or a Thursday live, but guys, I just haven't been getting the time, man. I need help. I need help. You hear me saying I need help? I need help. I don't need help with my housework and my mommy duties. I need help with this. Elisha, you there? You hearing me begging for help? I don't need help with my mommy duties and the home duties. I got that part. I can handle that. I need help with this. Like, I need help on Free Press 268 platform. I need help with somebody helping me to plan these programs. I just want to come here and sit down and be all cute. Okay? It's a lot of work. Elisha, if you know anybody, let me know. It's a lot of work to plan the show, to do all this research. I just want to come here and be cute and like, do you have my program outline? And do you have and do you have the tea there? And could you put that there? And yes, do some powder here. There's a spot here. Right here. And then I said, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Phoenix Feed. I want to do that. Okay? That's the leveling up life. That's when you're leveling. That's when you're leveling up. Not
when
living.
You get them, let me know, Nikki.
Eh?
Because you and I searching for the same thing. I say when you get them, let me know.
That's when you're living between 2 time zones, okay? And you're missing sleep and you're missing everything that you're missing, okay? But guys, it's worth it. I love keeping everyone informed. I love keeping myself informed, and I love the fact that I can, I have a colleague such as Alicia George that I can call her. We can share, we can speak on such topics, we can share information, and work and collaborate on projects. It's so important for us to be able to do that as a people and as a team, working together as a team. So, Alicia, I want to thank you very much for tonight. I want to thank you for joining me. And guys, you need to be following Island Press Box. What's your email address for Island Press Box, Alicia?
Pretty simple, islandpressbox@gmail.com. It doesn't get any easier than that.
Yes, islandpressbox@gmail.com. Send your stories, any news, information, question. Invite her on your platform. Invite her to speak at your different events and whatever you're doing. Just invite Alicia. She's a wealth of knowledge. And she has this hairstyle now. Let's see how long she's going to have this one. And Alicia,
They
I
can't
saw.
see it, Nikki.
No, no, no. Somebody saw you earlier because I saw a comment from Tika, and Tika says, "Oh, I recognize her. She was sitting in last week for Dave Lester Payne, but she changed her hair."
I always change my hair. I have like 10 different faces.
Yes, look the comment right here. Tika says, "Oh, she was filling in for Dave Lester Payne last week. I remember her now from her locks and her voice." Oh, guys, I know you want me to share your comments. Let me share some comments quickly before we go. And thank you for those who've shared their comments. Good night. Everyone is saying good night. Good night, guys. Good night. This one says, "Me have a play plan. Me
Yeah,
have a pipe and late 1974 because me just to hear this." Tell me which one you hearing? Which one you hearing? We missed that part. ABS have independence from the government. That's a good question. Of course, we're asking questions. Hopefully the Chinese will bring ABS technology into 2020. Boy, I said it. I said it, James. I said it. I said it. It will not be beneficial to the media landscape in Antigua and Barbuda. The state media will continue to be biased. Sean says that. Danny says, "Of course it's funny." Danny, I laughed. I know what Danny is talking about. Danny is talking about the serpent audio when Colin Neal called serpent. Did you hear it, Alicia?
Oh, yes, I did. I did. When he said he voted for him.
Yes,
Yeah.
he said, "And then just know that you vote for me." He said, "You lie." You see the lie song so soft? Guilty. He said, "You lie, you lie." So Shonda said, "So if he didn't vote for Serpent, who he vote for? Dean?" I thought Gaston said he didn't want Dean back, or he didn't vote. No, man, Shonda, he voted for Serpent. Okay? He voted for Serpent.
Somebody said he was protesting too much. They believe.
There's a good comment. Shonda says, "If freedom of the press is gone, Colin is out of work because all he does is play Jackie Quinn every day."
It's an obsession. At this point, it's an obsession.
If Jackie does not go to work, he doesn't have a show then. They have no content, eh?
Yeah.
Shonda says, "And Gaston and them wicked. Corruption in the highest places." Two statements she made. Please don't acknowledge Marx anymore.
People. She said people. I don't know.
Well, people don't acknowledge. Marx? What you mean? Shonda, you there? All right. Winston says, "I do not listen to mainstream media. You do not get the truth. I was watching a march for Palestine freedom today on YouTube in New York today, and the NYPD arrested leaders for using bullhorns. The freedom of speech is under threat in the West because of the Israelites genocide. The Western governments do not want us to know they are supporting genocide, so they are clamping down on freedom of speech. I know what happened in New York today will never be shown on mainstream media." All right, James says, "Pearl Quinn's situation is a classic case where freedom of speech was used correctly. She spoke her mind about the government. Gaston Brown is the leader of the government, so he is fair game where someone is expressing themselves about the government." All right. Tamika's in the house. Jamel is in the house. Charlene is in the house. Christine in the house. Tika in the house. Master in the house. James in the house. Gretlin in the house. Hi, Gretlin. She says, "That's so true, Alicia. Everything Alicia says is true." Corty says lies. You know when Corty said that lies?
Yeah, he was talking. What was he talking about when he said that? We were
When I,
talking about something.
when I was talking about the advantages or the benefits or something of
Oh
China,
yeah, yeah.
and the mainstream or the mainstream media of incorporating something and being a free media. Curtis says, did you know China ranks low on press freedom indices? The Chinese government maintains strict control over media, with state censorship and surveillance limiting independent journalism. This means news often reflects official narratives, hindering diverse perspectives and free expression. All these comments, more comments. We can't go through everything, babes. Guys, I see it's coming. Jamel says Sri Lanka also wanted to keep their culture, whereas the Chinese want to flood them with Mandarin and high tech to watch people anyway them day. Okay. Those are comments. Coty says China's rapid military expansion and technological advancements pose a growing security challenge to Western countries. Their increased capabilities in cyber warfare and space, combined with a more assertive foreign policy, threaten the existing international order and the strategic interests of the West. There's some comments here, guys. All right, this one says the one China policy, a cornerstone of Beijing's foreign relations, undermines the fundamental rights of self determination and democratic expression. It forcibly silences the voices and identities of Taiwan and Tibet, nations with distinct cultures, histories, and aspirations. This policy is not just a diplomatic stance, but an aggressive assertion of dominance, erasing the legitimate aspirations of millions. It contradicts the principles of freedom and self-governance that are essential in a what, Carty? In a what?
I think he wanted us to guess democracy.
We did. More comments, guys. I'm just going through. Yes, unpaid dues. Everyone is saying here, Alicia, when you were saying that, yes, the government will pay the Jews, or we'll pay it when we can, or whatever. Somebody says that was 2 years ago. Jews not paid yet. And then this person says, when are they going to pay the fees, Alicia?
They probably done pay that already. I want Nikki.
Hey.
I'm gonna do my research. They probably done pay that already.
And let me know, please. Because even Tika says, don't make excuses, Alicia. They can't even pay pension on time. What are you talking about, eh?
No. Yeah, you have to prioritize, You have to prioritize, and the government knows how to prioritize. So I bet, and that's not a lot of money, yeah, in hindsight, because they pay $3 million in subsidies each month to Social Security. So that's $75,000. I mean, they can just hold back a little Social Security payment for a month, and that don't pay already.
Alicia, you just said that. You just that's recorded in
you can't act like it's far fetched, Nikki. These things happen. It's all about priority. So
hold back a little, you say? just hold back a little 2 months from them, huh?
Well, we've heard it before. No, it's back. It's not impossible. We've heard governments reshuffling all the time where the money goes to. Maria said that the money the millions of the $500,000 that they were going to use to plant the MP Maria to plant the trees. It had to be diverted to other areas in the ministry. So it's all about priorities. Somebody like me would be like, but why in the first place would you even want to take $500,000 to plant trees for it to be diverted? But I'm telling you, people have different priorities. And if paying for that UN vote is seen as a priority, then it shall be paid. Sorry, membership. Let me stop saying vote. That UN membership.
Research. Just check it out and let me know. Let us know so we can update everyone if it was paid or not. Please. This comment says Alicia is great, a great asset for Observer. Yes, she's a great asset for Observer, but she's a great asset for herself and for independent press box. Alicia, you're not say nothing. I'm going to say it. She needs to be a great asset for herself. She needs to get people to advertise on her platform so that she can grow independently for all the resources and everything that she already has acquired. She's a great asset to
hire my spokesperson, man, Nikki.
Of course, she's a great asset to Observer. Yes, Observer should be paying her more too. Hello, but she's a better and a greater asset to herself. And Alicia, you should expand on your Island Press box and the things that you're doing and put the energy and the effort into it, and really build your brand, like really, really build your brand. And I'm seriously saying that.
Well, that's the plan for 2024, Nikki.
Yes, man. Build your brand. I think we need to get away from the ideas of always wanting to be employees. I don't want to always work and build somebody else's dream and vision. I want to build my own dream, build my own vision. Let me be the employer. I'm tired being
Definitely.
employee. So thank you for the comment, Vernon. Susan Hall. Don't mean it in a bad way. Love you, girl. But Alicia is a great asset to Island Press Box. Her idea, her vision, she launched it, she doing it. That's how we roll. That's how we roll, guys. And how else do we roll? I did not even tell you about rolling on some lotion, rolling on some aloe moisturizing lotion from Forever Living Aloe Vera, the aloe vera avocado face and body soap, rubbing it on. Did we talk about rubbing? Rubbing some Gentleman's Pride cologne on. You know you need it. Rubbing some oh, smells so good. And some deodorant. Ooh,
What
child.
brand is that, Nikki?
It's actually the aloe vera brand. Aloe Forever
Is it
Living.
an Antiguan brand?
It's you can actually order online. It's Forever Living online, and everything aloe vera. Valerie Samuel, I'll give you the email. Well, actually, the website. It's https the aloe vera co.shop /CLKMX. I'll pin it in the chat. So CLKMX4TL. So this particular link here, I'll put it here so you can see the information too and save me some time. Yeah. So this particular link would take you, this one here at the bottom, this link would take you to directly to the site, to the person who's selling, and that person is Valerie Samuel. She's selling all these awesome pieces. So you're going on her site, her aloe vera site, and you'll be ordering from her this Forever Aloe. Can you see it? Forever Aloe Cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one here. This one is a toothpaste, actually. I haven't tried it as yet, but I can't say I'm gonna try it. I don't want to lie. I don't lie. But it's a natural mint flavor. I'm sure somebody would like this. But I've tried the hemp toothpaste. I've tried so many other toothpastes. So you can try this one, guys. You can definitely try that one. So it is Forever Living Aloe Vera, Valerie Samuel, telephone number 077, well, +44 for the UK, of course, +44 772 29609. So give her a call. Get yourself some aloe vera. Get yourself some aloe up. Okay? Aloe yourself up. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Alicia, you there? Thank
Yes,
you
I
for
don't know what
joining us.
happened there. I had to rejoin a second. I
That's
was telling
okay.
you I was going to sleep, and then my phone agreed with me and just checked me out.
I'm not gonna keep you, Alicia. I'm not gonna keep you. It's like 2:15 in the morning for me, so it's 10:15 your
10:15.
time, and
Yeah.
I need to be running too because at this time, 10 o'clock, I love to watch J Truth on 10 o'clock Saturday night, and I see that he has Daryl Matthew, Honorable Daryl Matthew.
Wow.
Yeah, we need to jump over there right now. Honorable Daryl Matthew is on J Truth live right now. Let me see if he's gonna be soft. I'm gonna go there right now and leave all my comments. J Truth, I'm coming for you. I'm gonna leave all my comments right now. So, guys, stay blessed. Thank you so much for your love, for your support, Alicia. Thank you so much, girl. We'll talk off air. We have some things to do behind the scenes, for sure, for sure, for sure. Everyone, thank you for your love. And again, thank you to my wonderful husband for all these books. Alicia, trust me, he's gonna ask me if I use any. He's gonna say, so
Remember,
which
remember this show is recorded, and you already said you didn't.
yeah, hey, Alicia, it's a good thing you don't watch them. He too busy. So he's gonna say, so which one you took anything from anyone? Which would you read? And which one are you going to read now? And like he says, please ensure that I have my books back. Back serious about his books, okay? All right, guys. See, Alicia Love, thank you so much. Stay blessed, girl. And
No problem.
Vernon
Thanks for
Susan
having me.
Hall. Vernon Susan Hall says, I learned a lot about Island Press Box tonight. We'll check it out. Yes, see? Thank you. We gotta promote ourselves, you know. I always
But then
promote.
it's actually always keeping me abreast of what's going on. So sends me links and
Yes,
updates and stuff like that.
perfect. So, Vernon, girl, Island Press Box is it, okay? Island Press Box at gmail.com. That's it. All right, guys. Much love, Alicia. Blessings, girl. Everyone. Blessings. Jump on over to J Truth live right now. J Truth, the engineer, he's live. His guest is Honorable Daryl Matthew from the ABLP party. Let's go over there now. Blessings, Alicia. Take care.
So yeah.
Take care. Bye bye. Take care, guys. Love, love, love. Thank you.